Hello and welcome back to Automotive Tales. Today we're out in the Bentley. So we're hoping to do a back-to-back video with this and the Rolls-Royce. However, things have, as usual, not gone to plan.
Oh, we've not got a lot of power. Not got a lot of power. Not got a lot of power. No.
Broken Rolls-Royce.
Yes. So we are at Caffeine and Machine, where we'd planned to do our first swap over of drivers from one car to the other and do our back-to-back review. However, we're now heading away from Caffeine and Machine to go and get a new battery. So the battery's completely flat on the Rolls. It doesn't seem to want to hold any charge. It's so flat that it won't even idle properly, so it's just not putting enough fuel pressure through because you've not got enough charge at idle. So, new battery, and then hopefully we're going to do you a back-to-back review of a 1981 Silver Spirit and a 1996 Bentley Turbo R.
Enjoy.
Okay, so I am taking the Silver Spirit, which now appears to be working thanks to a new battery. I don't think the new alternator we fitted previously has solved the charging problem. Either that or the battery being completely flat was just too much for the alternator to take. So as it's going in for its MOT, we're going to have a basic service done on the car. So I'll get them to check over the charging circuits again. It's not showing a charge warning. It is showing a small amount of current going into the battery, which means there's definitely a positive charge on the circuit. We did test it and it is showing 14 volts, so it is energizing the alternator, just not so much at idle. So with a bit of luck, as we're driving along, it will at least continue to charge. It just won't while we are at idle. So now, first things first is to pull safely out of Caffeine and Machine, and we'll see how we get on. Right, here goes. And you probably can't see on the camera, but right behind us is Greg in the Bentley.
Good afternoon, YouTubers. You're back to another Automotive Tales with me, Yorkshire CNG, out for the day with Automotive Tales John. And we have the Rolls-Royce Silver Spirit, which John has in front of us, 1981, and the Bentley Turbo R that I am in, 1996. So, by Twitter request, for somebody who said you don't look very Yorkshire in these videos, I got flat cap out, so hopefully that will keep you guys happy. And what I'm going to do is give you my sort of first impressions of the Bentley today as we go along. So, this Bentley, certainly something different, not something I've driven before. Certainly a opulent car for the time. You've got the walnut trim, you've got the cream leather seats, it's comfortable, it's quiet, big lazy automatic, 6 3/4 litre engine, based on the SZ chassis, same as the Spirit, which is why we are back to back doing the review. So John's car is the beginning of the SZ chassis. This is pretty much the end of the SZ chassis, so it's the same underneath. It's pretty much the same engine, 6 3/4, albeit that has carburetors, this has a turbo and injection. But all in all, very similar cars.
So we have about an hour to drive between myself in the Rolls-Royce and Greg at Yorkshire CNG in the Bentley. We are going to tell you a little bit about what it's like to drive these cars. Now, it would be a lot nice to drive if it wasn't hammering it down with rain. Unfortunately, we've had quite a nice few days, and it's decided now with the warm weather comes the rain. Luckily, the wipers are not too squeaky in here. They are a little squeaky in the Bentley. But essentially, we've got two of the same car. So what we've got to compare and contrast for you are the bookends of the Rolls-Royce Bentley SZ chassis range. So this is a first year production 1981, so they started them in late 1980 as a Rolls-Royce Silver Spirit and a Bentley 8. They went on right the way through till I believe 99, and then they did a fairly significant facelift into what is the Seraph. All of which had the same L410 engine, which is the 6.75 litre V8, albeit this one, at the very early end of the spectrum, is on a twin SU carburetor setup, whereas the Bentley Turbo R that Greg is currently driving is sitting on Motronic, I think, injection. It might be K-Jectronic actually in that one. That's a 96 car, so almost at the very end. So 97 they stopped producing the Turbo R, and they went on for another 2 years onto the Turbo RT to 99, and then they did the massive facelift. So what have we actually got? So the twin SU carburetted car is a shade under 200 horsepower. I believe it's around 197. I will stick something at the bottom of the screen and confirm specifically for you. Although it is a bit difficult to find numbers, it's a bit hazy. Once they went on to the fuel injected models, they did go up quite a bit. So the fuel injected version of this in the Spirit 2, which came out in the sort of mid to late 80s, I don't know exactly, I think it was 86 it first came out. They were estimated to be around 240 horsepower, which isn't a staggering amount of power for such a large engine, but that number did change quite a lot. So the Turbo R comes in at a hefty 355 brake horsepower, which isn't insane, but it's quite a lot for the time, and quite a big difference from the just shy of 200 that this puts out. The same engine did continue in various forms in the Bentley cars of Crew, right through to the end of its line, which was a twin turbo version of the 6.75, and that put out over 530 horsepower to be more exact. Ooh, very nice 996. So Greg, how are you getting on in the Bentley?
So, what do I like about the Bentley so far? It's comfortable. It is comfortable, and it is so easy to drive. You know, it is big. You know, I put this into the Halfords car park earlier, and let's just put it that way, it was sweating. It was high curbs, tiny parking spaces, and this is like putting a transit van in a parking space is probably the best way. In fact, this might be longer than a transit van. Certainly makes it challenging with no rear camera or parking sensors. However, dead easy to drive, and this engine is effortless, and I mean effortless. You can pootle around really slowly, or you can really give it the beans, and I mean, being a Turbo R, you can give it the beans, and it goes, and it sounds well. Downside, your petrol station becomes your friend very, very quickly. That's just life in these type of cars. Oh, and speaking of the devil, we have just arrived at a Gulf petrol station, so I think that is timing for me to pop in and put some fuel in, and I'll let you know how it's doing when I get back out.
I just love being in this car when it's working, obviously. It's just so relaxing. I can't explain what it is. It puts a smile on your face. Not necessarily because of the great big hood ornament out front, or you know, the way people look at you, because usually it's a bit of a turn up of the nose because they think you're a bit stuffy. But it's just, the controls are so beautifully weighted. It kind of forces you to just be very slow and steady with everything. It's comfortable in a different way. It doesn't hug you. It doesn't need to, because it doesn't want to throw you out the door around the corner, because you're not going fast enough to suffer any G-forces. It is literally like sitting on a cloud. It's the only way I can describe it, and it's bloody lovely. Come over, old Yorkshire. It's bloody lovely, it is, I tell thee. Oh, we have a light on the dashboard. Fuel. So, it's not always obvious when we film these videos, but we're out filming today with two vehicles with a 6.75 or 6 3/4 litre V8, when fuel is at the highest it's been for, well, ever, I think. We passed a service station on the way down. I saw diesel at £1.88 a litre. £1.88 a litre. And, to add insult to injury, because these old cars, they don't want to run an E10, so we're going to have to go with E5 if we can find it. So premium. So basically all your 97 to 99 RON tend to be E5. So it's basically Esso or Shell premium is about it. That's all we've got. make a slightly unscheduled stop because while the Bentley Turbo R is fast and it will probably pass anything on the road, the one thing it won't pass is a fuel station.
We'll get the seat heater seat on, we'll get warmed up, and we'll carry on. So, having just visited the second home of the Bentley and the Rolls-Royce, aka the petrol station, we'll have a carry on and see what else I like about this car. So, heated seats, the next comment I'm going to make. Having just stood out in the cold, the heated seats are amazing. They are really quick, really warm, and with these leather seats, it's just a nice place to be. And you know what, overall we've been dotting down, we've done 46 miles now, and it's quiet, it's comfortable. Certainly not a car to be rushed, I think, as I mentioned earlier, though it will get a haste on if you want it to. But it is a comfortable place to be, and you could do the south of France in this dead easy. You may have to stop several times, like I said, at the second home of the petrol station, but you could do miles and miles. So my initial impressions, what don't I like about this car? Maybe because it was a Turbo R, I was expecting it to be a bit firmer, perhaps, on the chassis. It certainly still wallows. I know the Rolls does wallow. I have driven that a few times.
Home, James. Don't spare the horses.
But maybe I just expected this, with having so much power and being the Turbo R, it would just be a little firmer, perhaps. And maybe that is just me and my concept of what this car would be with its sort of credentials. What else am I not a fan of? And again, this might be my perception of how the system would work, but the brakes are very what's the word? You have to work them. Don't get me wrong, they do stop, and I do believe in this. It's based on the Citroen system, where the hydromatic suspension, the more the car dives, the harder it works together to sort of balance the brakes out. Hydrolastic is what I'm thinking of. But it takes some getting used to. I'm finding myself with the weight of the car for the first couple of miles coming up to a roundabout and having to push harder and harder to get the car to slow down. Again, old technology, you know, we're probably talking some of the stuff even on this car is 1960s tech, 1970s tech from Rolls-Royce, some of it I believe. I know a lot of stuff got updated for the Silver Spirit when it came out in the late 70s, early 80s, I believe it was, 1980 I think the Silver Spirits came out, or that version of it. There was a lot of update to the tech, but as with a lot of things in Rolls-Royce up until probably the early 2000s, they didn't change anything. They certainly made it better, they may have refined it, but no, we don't do change. This is a Rolls-Royce, man, or a Bentley in this case. And that probably brings me on to one of the other points, and it will be interesting when John gets back in this car and I drive the Rolls-Royce again. It's getting the identity of the car, I think, is the challenge. You look at these cars, and we were looking at these cars back at Cafe in the Machine, where we've just been for a coffee. Big shout out to them, beautiful burger if you go there, and good food, so please do visit them. If you were to take the nose off this car, they are the same cars, and I know I said it's the same chassis and the same engine, but you can see why Bentley needed to break away. You can see why really they both needed to go off and find their identities again, because from my memory of driving the Silver Spirit and driving this today, there's not a massive amount in it. You know, you could probably I'm going to get lambasted here. You could probably get away with putting a Rolls-Royce badge on this and somebody probably wouldn't know the difference. I hate to say it, but you probably could. Anyway, that's my first impressions of what I don't like and I do like about the car, and I will come back to you shortly, YouTubers.
So, what can I tell you about this that I haven't already said in the previous videos? Because I think I probably summarised it pretty well back then. This is a beautiful, beautiful place to be. It's not the most modern, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but actually it's traditional luxury. It's attention to detail, it's nice fixtures and fittings, it's nicely weighted switches, it's peace and quiet. You don't get a lot of noise in here. I don't need to shout over the road noise. I mean, that's because we're only doing 50 miles an hour, because that's the speed it likes to waft at. And that's exactly what this car is. It's a wafter. It's all it was ever meant to be. And a very lovely wafter at that. The Bentley, however, that's a little bit more pokey. So that, with a great big Garrett turbo strapped to it, can do its best to pin you in the seat, as you'll have probably seen on one of the previous videos. When you open it up, warp drive is just at the bottom of that pedal travel. In the Rolls-Royce, not really the case. It will pick up its skirts and go, but not at any particular pace. Oh, speed cameras. Well, we're not going to be worrying them in this. I'm sure Greg is getting very frustrated sitting behind in the Bentley with this nice, straight, open road ahead.
Come on, John, get your foot down.
Wishing you could apply the pedal to the Axminster and see what it'll do. But he'll get his chance. Just not when he's behind a Silver Spirit.
So viewers, update on the heated seats. We have warm and we have nuclear. Aha! All cosy. Speak to you soon. I did promise you I'd come back with a few more thoughts on this, as I got a few more miles under the belt. And some of the things I said earlier were probably a little bit maybe harsh when you judge the standard and the age of this car and when it was built and what it was designed to do. I did say that it rolled a bit. However, one of the conclusions I have come on, we've just done lots of sort of A and B roads and the sort of 50-60 mile an hour sweeping bends as you do, and as you tend to get in the UK. And you know what? It just wafts along. There's very little stress to drive this car, bar the size of it, and even then it's manageable. It goes where it needs to go. It just gets on with the job, and knowing you've got 6 3/4 litres up front that will get you out when you need to is really nice, I have to say. I have found one more positive. I have. This seat's at its lowest height, and I am slightly stupid. I'm 6'3" tall. I'm just touching the roof with my hair. But besides that, it is a nice place to be, this Bentley, I have to say. It certainly does make you go, you know what, this is nice, and it gives you a nice warm fuzzy feeling, and that's probably how I will describe it, yeah. And I hope with the Silver Spirit will be the same, albeit probably slightly older. But certainly this is what these cars are about. Getting in and just wafting your way, removing the stress, you know, multi-million-pound business deals probably back in the day. Yeah, and enjoying and getting home nice, relaxed and calm. One thing I have just noticed, YouTubers, bearing in mind my mum's car that was the first car I drove properly, her Rover 200, was a 1997, 1998 model Rover 200. No airbags in this car. But who needs airbags when you've got a football field length of a bonnet to have a crash in?
Okay, well that's it for this episode of Automotive Tales. Join us for part 2, where Greg and I are going to swap between the Rolls-Royce and the Bentley and give you a bit of feedback on what it's like driving the polar opposite cars. So until next time, thank you for watching, and do please, like, share and subscribe wherever those things are, and we'll see you next time. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Need to find a petrol station soon.